Hi friends, welcome to the October edition of Tea with Me. I'm so very happy you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. If you're new to this channel, welcome. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you for your continued support. I started off today's video by making a cup of tea, but what I was really trying to do was demonstrate ritual. That's what this month's episode is going to be about. The tiny little rituals that we put in our day to make life more creative and happy. I'm going to share some of mine with you. I'm going to talk about some books. And as a special treat, I'm going to take you on a little field trip to Cambridge Typewriter, where I took the little beauty that you see below and finally got it fixed. So let's begin this month's episode. So I think you saw what my tea was. It's a nice calming sort of chamomile mix. I believe it was David's tea. So here is my new adorable Frida mug with my tea in the afternoon, and it's signaling my brain it's time to create. Now, just grabbing a cup of coffee, which is what I do in the morning, I don't really think about. I grab whatever mug is available, fill it up, have my cup, and wake up. But in the afternoon, when I'm starting to drag or when the toils of the day are starting to weigh on me, getting a cup of tea is like self-care. I choose a really pretty mug. I choose a tea that smells really good. I might add honey or cream. And the process of making the tea, I will engage in. I'll take my time. I'll smell. I'll listen. And that ritual calms me down, focuses me, and gets me ready to create. It has become a signal to myself that this is time for me. Okay, before I share with you the rituals that I have in my day or in my life, I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a habit and a ritual. A habit is something that you do every day for the sake of just doing that thing. So in other words, it's like checking it off a list. So if your habit is that you take your medication at 10 a.m., then that's just something you're checking off your list. If you want to have a good habit of drinking 8 ounces of water 6 times a day, then that's your habit of doing that. That's not a ritual. A ritual is something that you do that enhances your life or enhances an occasion, or it sets the stage for the habit or the activity that you're going to do. So, for example, last September, I wanted to establish the habit of doing yoga. And I took a 30-day challenge. And that in itself was so that I could establish a habit of exercise. But what I found out through my teacher, and I took an online class, is that if you make it about a ritual, if you make the space that you practice your yoga in, if the lighting is special in some way, you light your salt lamp or you have a candle, if you have a very calm environment, if you have a special yoga mat, it's all the things that you do to set up for yoga that made yoga more enjoyable for me. It made it more of an occasion and less of like the checking it off of my list. So I bought a really beautiful yoga mat that looks a little bit like an oriental rug, and I bought a salt lamp, and I cleaned up an area, and I made a yoga space for myself. And I found that the ritual of setting up for yoga every day made me look forward to the yoga. And it put a positive energy in the room and in my mind before I started the activity. Now, I loved yoga so much, by the end of the month, I was ready to continue, and I'm now probably in my 13th or 14th month of yoga practice, and I love the program I take online. I will link it below because it is free, but that's not my point. My point is the setting up for yoga is the ritual, and I don't always do yoga every day. Sometimes I just can't. But when I do it, I always do the ritual of setting up first. And I always find that my experience with yoga is more rewarding because I get into yoga faster because I'm already calmer, because the ritual has signaled me to get to that place of centeredness quicker. It's the same thing for creating at my desk. I can light a certain candle, put on a certain music, and do certain rituals that allow me to sit down and start creating at my desk and have it be a more rewarding experience. So ritual is more to me the setting of the stage or the things I do to enhance the habits that I want. So let's go into some of those now. Keep in mind, these are just some of the things I do to enhance my life. Yours could be different, and these are just ideas and suggestions. First off, when I enter my workroom in the morning, I always love what I see because I have a ritual at night of always picking up my space, making it tidy, and making it ready for me to work the next day. I make sure my bed is made, the pillows are in place. I make sure that everything's on the bookshelf and the desk is clear. Sometimes I'll leave the project I was working on set up on my desk. I take the time to look at my space, to really look at the light, and to enjoy what I see. And I look for the little details, like the reflection I'm looking at right now on the rug, made from the stained glass in my window. Instead of just entering my room, sitting down and saying, okay, I have to get to work, I just take a moment to look at my space, to contemplate the area, and I turn on my twinkle lights all the time, and I just take a moment to be grateful for the fact that I have this space and that I have the time to be able to create. And just taking that moment rather than jumping in makes a lot of difference to me. There are so many special things in this space. Sometimes I'll just concentrate on looking at one thing, or looking at one area, or looking out the window. Just about taking a special moment to stop and to think. Next step in my creative routine is setting the tone, getting my energy right. I have a little tray set up with all my smudging materials, my Palo Santo sticks, my white sage, and my candles. I light a candle, and then I take my Palo Santo stick and I put it in the candle and light it. As I light it, I watch the flame and I smell the scent. I think of what my intention is for the day, and I say a prayer. I say a prayer about what I want, and then I release what I don't want into the smoke. There's a tradition of bathing yourself in the smoke to purify your energy, and you can do that by simply moving the stick around and allowing yourself to bathe in the smoke, or you can take a feather and move the smoke towards you. You can say a meditation about releasing negative things in the smoke. Sage is used mostly to purify the energy, and Palo Santo is used for focus for me and to set my intention for the day. I absolutely love the smell, and the process, this little special ritual that I create really helps me center myself, and it has become one of the things I look most forward to every single day. One of the things that I love the most about this process isn't just seeing the smoke, smelling the smoke, seeing the flame, hearing the flicker. It's about how the Palo Santo smells and what I attach to it that day. After I put it down and keep it in the shell until it extinguishes itself, that smell lingers in my workspace for hours. When I walk in the room time and time again, it's the thing that greets me. And it just really feels positive. It makes the energy feel positive. And when we have positive energy, we make better things. There's just something about it that I absolutely love. So, what kinds of things can you incorporate into your day? What kind of rituals can you introduce into your daily routine that make the time before you create special? Is it walking in the woods and using all your senses to engage? Is it seeing and smelling, touching, listening to all the beauty that nature has to offer? Looking at the small details and maybe getting inspired so that when you sit down at your work table, you feel refreshed and ready to get going. There's so many ways, and there is no right and there is no wrong. So whether or not it's the long walk in the woods or even around your neighborhood, maybe it's going out to your garden and picking flowers and making yourself a bouquet that will sit on your creative work table, finding colors and textures that will inspire you when you're creating. And if you don't have a formal garden, get wildflowers or leaves or sticks, making an arrangement that pleases your eye. Or maybe it is daily yoga, taking that time out to stretch your body and to clear your mind. Nobody's rituals have to be the same. It's what works for you. It's about taking your everyday routine, the habits you already have, and enhancing them with special touches that invoke a sense of calm and creativity. I love to have routines in my day, rituals that allow me to be at peace, open my mind to thinking and sort of declutter my thoughts. And I love having something that allows me to consistently create, whether that's some big projects or something really small. Having a little bit of creativity every day, I think, is very important to anybody who's a maker or an artist or a creative soul. So having said that, every episode I always recommend a few books, and this one is no different. I'm going to recommend these books as part of what I like to think of ritual. So let me take a sip and we'll get started. I want to introduce this book first as sort of a fun little book that I read. I got for Christmas, I think 3 years ago, and I really enjoyed. Now, if you know me, you know that I love gnomes. I love creating gnomes out of clay, and this appealed to me simply because this book is about a woman who makes a gnome every single day for a year. But for those who are trying to be creative, for those artists who are trying to come up with creative habits, this is a wonderful book about being committed to creativity. This woman is a textile artist, and she decided that she needed to do a project, something very doable, something small that she could do in a short amount of time every day, and she needed to do it every single day of the year. She wasn't somebody who was good at sticking at rituals. She wasn't someone who was good at following through. And she writes very honestly, and it very much like sitting down and having coffee with a friend, about her inability to actually commit to doing something every day. In fact, she worried about the fact that her friends were so productive and she was not. So this book is really, it's a quick read. I think I read it in a day or a day and a half, and I enjoyed the whimsy of it. And it was just really, this says it all, right? Martha Stewart meets the Goodwill Goddess. This really speaks to a lot of our people who are creative, and we use vintage or we use upcycled things. It talks about letting life get in the way. And through making a gnome a day, which was her goal, her daily practice, she transforms her life and the narrative that she tells herself. And I have to say, I just loved this book for so many reasons. And if you have a library you could take this out from, I definitely recommend it as a read and an inspiration for anybody who wants or likes the idea of doing one little thing a day to get to a better place of creativity. It's called The Gnome Project by Jessica Peel Meaninghouse. She lives in Maine, and I will put a link in my description book more about this. Now, the next two books are mine, but I purchased them secondhand and I've decided to give them away as a gift to my cousin Sue. So I just reordered them for myself. So I can tell you that you can find these books and they are affordable. What I love about these and what they speak to ritual is that they are nature journals. This one is an entire year of an artist who takes photographs of her garden and has a plan for her garden in Vermont. And the artwork in this book is really lovely if you're a gardener. Even if you're not a gardener, she takes a lot of photographs using sort of that botanical herbarium style. These would be, as a material, this book would be beautiful for cutting these lovely little art pieces for the cover of a journal, for using as journal pages. But it's also, an interesting read if you wanted to learn more about nature journaling, and maybe not nature journaling from the standpoint of drawing every day, but even using your iPhone to photograph every day, to mark the changes and to look at the small details. The artwork is really beautiful. I really love the specimen nature of it, and I think it's just a really lovely book to own and to use as inspiration. Again, this book is Fern House, A Year in an Artist's Garden by Deborah Schneck. Now, this book is definitely somebody who likes Vermont. This is all about 1 year in Vermont, and the person who writes it does it in that definite journaling style of handwriting and sketches with watercolor. There's a lot of text. This book isn't as heavy in the artwork as like a lot of books that we would buy, like Edith Holden, and it's very informal, but it is a good inspiration if you can get it for a few dollars or at a book sale, to look at how just by journaling a little every day, you have a record of an entire year and an entire cycle of nature. It's a great inspiration to see what people nature journal about, how they nature journal. And again, it's about ritual. It's about getting outside or even looking out your window and making that mental commitment to do something every day. It has a lot of text, but it does have a lot of these colored images as well. It's very informal and definitely a good example of what a nature journal is. This one is called, and it's very, it's a local book, so I'm not sure how easy it would be to get, but it is by Nona Bell Estrin and Charles W. Johnson, 2002, and it was published in New England in Hanover, so it's not a big publication, but definitely a good idea to check out. Last, this one will appear to all of you who love Edith Holden. Janet Marsh's Nature Diary is similar in the vein of Edith Holden. It is a daily chronicle of nature and the property around her home. It is in England, and it's an English book. And it is, again, as that ritual of getting out in nature and observing what's around you and making notes. And her artwork is lovely. I love how detailed it is. The watercolors are lovely. It's very woodland. She has wonderful observations. The handwriting is lovely. It might even be a printed font, but it has that handwritten look. There's a lot of birds and flora and fauna. And it is not as inexpensive as the other books, and it takes some time sometimes to find this because it is a harder book to get, but you can find it on Amazon, on thrift books. If you're in England, I'm sure you can get it a lot easier than you can in the United States. There's insects, butterflies, moths, animals, flowers. Just a really lovely book to own, to be inspired by. And usually I'm looking at making recommendations of books that you can cut up and use in your journals, which you certainly can for any of these books. But my goal more was to maybe give you a book that you could use as an inspiration of something you could do every day that wouldn't take you a long time, that could give you a ritual that would inspire you. So now that we've had our book recommendations for this episode, let's go on a little field trip. I think you're going to like it. We're on our way to Cambridge Typewriter. 2 years ago, I made this post on my Instagram. This beautiful typewriter was left at our dump, and I found it before it went in the landfill. It needed some work. The keys stuck, but the bones were beautiful. And I really, really wanted it to work again. It took me a while, but I finally found Tom at Cambridge Typewriter in Arlington, Massachusetts. And he told me that he could get Leon, the name that I've named my typewriter, up and working again. So here I am on my way to pick him up. I dropped him off 6 weeks ago, and he is all ready for me to take him home, cleaned up and ready to work. Tom has been with Cambridge Typewriter for, I want to say, 30 years. He has a shop that basically takes typewriters and reclaims them, cleans them. He gets them back into working order. And ones that he purchases, he refurbishes and sells. And then he also has the part of his business where you drop off your typewriter and he fixes it for you. Here I am picking up, and I'm just showing you all the typewriters he has waiting to be fixed and cleaned and refurbished. And it has just been a resurgence of people who love typewriters again. There are tins full of old ribbons and machines you've never seen before. He has shelves stocked with typewriters ready to be purchased and have a new life with typewriter enthusiasts, artists, people who just want to take the time to write using these beautiful machines. At this point, he has so many typewriters in the queue, he's backed up to like 6 weeks. And that is a testament to how much these machines are loved. COVID has really sparked the interest in people again in returning to simpler times and simpler things. And the typewriter business is booming. Now, if you're looking for a typewriter, there's places you can look. You can look online, you can look on eBay, you can look at thrift shops, you can look at yard sales and estate sales. They're everywhere. There's different fonts, there's different colors, there's different styles, and they don't have to be expensive. Just make sure you have one in decent working condition, or you have somebody you can take it to. And I totally recommend adding one of these machines to your life if you can. Even if it's not in working condition, it's a beautiful thing to have in a workspace for inspiration and a reminder that sometimes technology doesn't have all the answers and we need to slow down. His shop is booming, and I'll link lots of links below so that you can learn more about him and about vintage typewriters. And as for Leon, he is terrific. Thanks to Tom, he's back in my workspace, and he is clickety-clacking better than he ever has before. He's clean, he's sleek, he's once again sexy, and I'm just very fortunate to have him back. hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about my rituals and about rituals in general. I so appreciate all of you being here, and the fact that I hit 4,000 this month subscribers is just, it's really amazing to me. And I couldn't have done it without every single one of you who tune in and support me and comment. You mean so much to me. Your participation and support means so much to me. And I will continue to make videos because of you and because I love sharing. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Tea with Me. I really enjoyed making it for you. Have a wonderful rest of October, and I'll see you in November. Bye.